Mm. I don't know what they're
All right, we're up.
afraid of. Okay. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Hello. Welcome back to Pen and Pixel. Today is gonna be a little different because apparently there was a lot of dissatisfaction with the Dresden system, mostly, I guess. Um, so, despite the fact that a lot of people put a lot of work into their characters, that thing's dead. It's fucking gone.
So much work. I put so much work in.
But Pen and Pixel shall continue. Sorry if you were enjoying Dresden. I understand your pain. We're going to continue. We're going to play a different setting and a different system. We're going to be playing Savage Worlds, specifically the Interface Zero setting for Savage Worlds. Interface Zero. Let's talk about Savage Worlds in general for a second. It's a very simple system based off of mostly D6, I would say, but it kind of uses everything except D20. Um, and it's just kind of a generic system in which you can play any kind of campaign you want. Everybody except Vex has a decent amount of experience with it, so it's not going to be that weird adjustment that we were doing for Dresden, where everybody was kind of not sure about how stuff worked. Instead, we should be able to jump kind of right into it. But what we're gonna do tonight is we're gonna do character creation for this new setting, so that Vex, along with all of you lovely people at home, can sort of get introduced to the system and to the setting. Interface Zero is cyberpunk, and if you don't know what cyberpunk means, I guarantee you've seen or heard of something that is in the genre. Um, Total Recall, Dread,
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner, The Matrix, Johnny Mnemonic, if anyone remembers that movie. um, Blade Runner is probably like, if you picture the cities from Blade Runner, that is like the most like evocative like aesthetic for what cyberpunk is, where everything's kind of dreary and like most of humanity's population is in these like mega cities, these enormous population centers. And the general themes are just kind of this dystopian like bleakness. There's a lot of hopelessness. The rich get rich and the poor get dead. And there's a lot of theming of like what it means to be human. There's a lot of stuff about like the nature of reality versus
transhumanism.
Okay, Tumblr.
There's a lot of neon lights.
What? That's like a cyberpunk theme.
I know.
Like humanity evolving past humanity.
Right. So there's also artificial life forms. There's well, in this setting specifically, there's artificial life forms which are kind of like the replicants from Blade Runner.
Well, actually, we should wait until we get to the races part of character creation, then we can describe all the various sort of modulations on humanity.
Right. Okay.
But
so
I'm gonna go ahead and just mention the elephant in the Interface Zero room. That, especially if anyone's at all familiar with tabletop RPGs, obviously, you had to have heard of Shadowrun, which is like the cyberpunk RPG.
No, I've never heard of it, Dave.
Shut up. And that's basically what Interface Zero is it takes great pains at being Shadowrun without being Shadowrun.
Well,
because everyone hates the Shadowrun system.
I wasn't gonna say it because there's a lot of stuff that goes along with Shadowrun that isn't in this. Like Shadowrun is a sort of merging of cyberpunk and fantasy, like urban fantasy. But this is a straight like cyberpunk. Like, cyberpunk is like a subdivision of sci-fi. So this is like you're going to see androids, you're going to see artificial intelligences, you're going to see augmented humans, genetically modified humans. You're not going to see like orcs or trolls or magic.
We'll
We'll
see
see
Big
psionics.
Rhino, man.
There are signs.
And we won't have to do complex math equations to figure out explosives damage.
One
Yeah,
of
no one's
these
got to
days we're gonna play it.
no one's gonna have to do the square root of pi or anything like that.
Oh, yeah.
ITI 85 is very disappointed.
Delicious explosive pie.
But yeah,
So Dave,
It's also. We should just say before we start that we're going to be playing in. At least to start with, we're going to be playing in. It's called the New York Reclamation Zone,
oh yeah,
and basically in the setting, because of climate change. I mean, the setting takes place in 2090. You know, the alternate cyberpunk future of the world. And coastal flooding has basically rendered the half of New York underwater, and the other half is sort of like in a political limbo. It's not really owned by any one government, and most of it is sort of self-governed by the streets, if you will. So it will be an interesting setting, to say the least.
yeah, the streets.
Waterworld.
Waterworld.
Yeah, a little bit of Waterworld.
But let us now decide what sort of characters we'll be facing. All this New York Reclamation Zone shenanigans. So, if we all flip to our handy dandy Interface Zero source book, let us see how we create characters. And the first step, which Vex is going to struggle with immensely, is concept.
Poor Vex.
Which, I mean, right, this is where you should start when you're making a character,
The
right?
struggle is real.
What is your character going to do? What's like the theme? What's the idea? Is it a mercenary? Is it a bounty hunter? Is it a hacker? Is it a street doctor? Is it a scion? Is it just a homeless man with the big sharp stick? You know?
Now,
What-
what I've noticed is Dave has listed off a ton of occupations, so that might be a good place to get some inspiration from.
Yeah, there we go.
So yeah, step one is in the book is concept, but yeah, I thought I found the occupation system, which is not present in the base Shadowrun game, to be like pretty
Shadowrun?
helpful.
Base Shadowrun game.
Whoops, Savage Worlds.
Ah,
Thanks for that. I was gonna try to go this whole stream without mentioning Shadowrun.
Well, you failed miserably.
I did
I-
fine.
I fucked it up.
Sure.
there.
So Vex, you were like the one to fight the hardest for us to be in the New York Reclamation Zone. So there must have been something that like poked at your imagination.
He wants to be a fisherman.
No, I just thought it was really cool that the entirety of Manhattan was, had been destroyed by the rising floodwater, and was now trying to be reclaimed by the megacorp that it was sold to. And I thought that was a really cool concept, along with the two political factions, the NAC and Atlantica, both having like a military base in the area. So you have like all these tensions, and then you have like the Free City in Brooklyn, and you have Gangland up in the Bronx, and you have like, Manhattan that only now is just being reclaimed, and then you have like Queens that's entirely flooded and filled with aquatic gang members. It just sounded really like a really cool area with a lot of different things going on.
You have Coney Island, which is now just a theme park for gang members.
Yeah, that's true. It's neutral ground for gang members. I forgot about that.
Can you dig it?
I can dig it.
Can you dig it?
So I thought it was really, he's a pretty cool guy. Wasn't afraid of anything.
So how would you like to interact with this fascinating environment?
Why are you picking on me?
Because you have no idea what you're doing.
Well, okay. Maybe if someone else, how about someone else lays their concept on us?
Okay.
Brian, you have a really clear idea of your character. So why don't you lay sort of the vague concept of him on us?
I am going to be a bounty hunter. I'm going to be a Russian bear hybrid bounty hunter.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're gonna be like the big burly bruiser who, you know.
Can I call you Boo Boo Fett?
Oh.
I will rip your head off.
Hey, Boo Boo.
So many NPCs are gonna die.
I call you Louis the Fat.
Oh.
I'm just gonna shoot my team. That's how it's gonna have to be. Well, looks like I know what one of my hindrances is gonna be.
No, we're getting
fire.
ahead of
Not so
ourselves.
friendly fire.
All right. Okay. So we have, the rough and tumble bounty hunter for Brian. Groom, what were you thinking of doing?
I'm gonna be a smuggler,
Be a smuggler and smuggle stuff.
and I'm gonna be, and that's an occupation instead of like actually making a concept. Gonna be. So like full disclosure, because this is kind of like, you guys all know about this, but this is kind of funny, like for the viewers. When we were talking about this, like Dave's told me that in this setting there's colonies in like the near solar system, and since most of us have just watched The Expanse, like I immediately wanted to be a belter, but since
The belt.
we're not going to space, I decided not to be a belter. I'm gonna be Cajun, which is the next best thing.
You can still be a belter.
I'm not gonna be a belter.
And who knows? We could go to space.
I don't think everybody else is gonna let me go to space. But yeah, I'm gonna be the next best thing. I'm gonna be Cajun, so I can speak a different kind of Creole. And my family abandoned Louisiana with the rising sea levels, and became what in the setting is called a rover, which are people that instead of like moving inland, abandoned land altogether and now like live in these like sea communities. Like basically they spend their whole lives on boats, but like there's also man-made islands and like reefs, and they spend a lot of time like in Australia. It's a big haven for them. So I'm gonna use my boat and my wits and all kinds of shit to smuggle all kinds of other shit.
Nice.
Cool.
Tom.
Do you have a
Yeah.
sort of character concept?
Well, part of it's that it didn't look like we're gonna have a hacker, so I incorporated that into my concept. But I'm gonna be playing as a human 2.0. If anyone has seen the movie Gattaca or the
Yeah.
book, it's pretty much like that. People tweaked with their genes before they were born, so they're just better than you.
Yes.
My character in particular is going to be a vengeful hacker. He was betrayed on a run not with these guys. And in the search for the strength to get his vengeance, he unlocked Cybermonk.
Oh. Oh.
Maybe he had a little bit to do with hacking his own cyber augments, but,
You like overclocked him?
pretty much.
Yes. Yes.
So Cybermonk is one of the 2 arcane professions, like the magic-ish stuff you can do.
Oh.
The first one is Scion, which is, you're psychic. You can,
telekinesis, light stuff on fire, read people's minds. Yeah,
and weird stuff too.
you know.
Like you can raise zombies in this book.
Weird, you say?
Cybermonk is the other half. Most of the population is augmented. Pretty much everyone has a tap in their back of their head, which is basically like the internet welded into the back of their heads.
It's like having a smartphone in your brain.
And Cybermonk is just pushing the augments beyond their limits. If you fail the roll, I lose the augment until the end of the encounter.
Cool. I'm also going to go ahead and say that Tom clearly just wants to create AIs in whatever sci-fi game we play.